And we do that through using a story lens and a story framework, looking at our lives as a story. So what we like to say is horses are some of the best story editors we've ever seen. And the reason we say that is because when you're around horses, they respond to our nonverbal communication. They end up behaving and acting in ways that might end up feeling resembling other areas of your life, other relationships with others, or even relationship with yourself. And it's almost like this feedback that feels so safe. These are animals that don't know anything about our background. They don't know anything about us, but they end up behaving in ways that give us some really neat information and help us look at ourselves in new ways.
Yeah.
So whether it be that they move towards us, move away from us, that relationship and building that relationship like that, it's like, okay, this is what I've experienced in other areas of my life. And is this what I want to keep doing? Is this how I want it to be? And what needs to change? And then we can work with our clients about what does need to change. And then they don't just talk about what needs to change. They actually have to embody it and feel it, because you could talk all day to a horse. They don't know that, but they're going to read our body language. They're going to feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think being able to have an experience like that has been really powerful for people.
Hello, my extraordinary women friends. Have you ever poured your heart into building something from the ground up, only to face an unexpected pivot that asks you to begin again? Today's guest, Lynn Thomas, knows that journey intimately. As the co-founder and longtime CEO of Igala, she spent over 2 decades shaping one of the most recognized global organizations integrating horses into mental health services. But in 2020, she faced an unexpected and painful split with the organization's board, a moment that could have ended the story. Instead, it became the beginning of a new one. Lynn went on to found not one, but 2 mission-driven organizations, Arenas for Change and Horses for Mental Health. In just 3 years, Horses for Mental Health has raised over $1 million and reached millions of people, while Arenas for Change is changing how facilitators support clients with values-based, emotionally safe practices rooted in story. In this conversation, we talk about what it means to lose and rebuild with intention. You'll hear the business strategies Lynn brought into her second act, what she left behind, and how honoring her values led her to deeper impact and fulfillment. If you're navigating change, craving purpose, or ready to lead in a more conscious way, this conversation is for you. Let's meet my friend, Lynn Thomas. Well, welcome to Extraordinary Women Radio, Lynn. It's great to have you here today.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Cammie.
Yeah, it's been a lot of years since I've seen you. I think it's probably been close to 15 years since I ran into you when we were out at Ariana's place when she was hosting those conferences that she put on every year.
Yeah, those were a lot of fun. It brought a lot of different groups together, all focused on incorporating horses for well-being. Yep. And it has been a lot of years since we've connected, and so it's great. It's great to have conversation again. Thanks.
Yeah. No, and you've been doing some really good things, and of course, because anytime you're mixing horses and good work, helping people with their wellness, I think that's always good magical work. So let's start a little bit about your story, just about your journey. I know you've built multiple equine-assisted organizations in the mental health space. Tell us a little bit about your story, how you found your way into that work to begin with.
So it's kind of interesting because I actually do not have a background with horses. And so that's why I think it's kind of interesting where our paths take us, where right. You end up thinking you're going one direction, and then life events happen. And next thing you know, I have devoted almost 30 years of my professional career incorporating horses for mental health and personal development. And so it started with my background. I had majored in psychology, so I had an interest in personal development and that kind of thing. And so I actually ended up working in a wilderness therapy program for at-risk mm-hmm. youth, and got really involved in nature and experiential approaches to helping people grow and change. And some years later, I had the opportunity to work in a program for at-risk youth that had horses in it. And that was my first introduction to horses. I was amazed by it and couldn't believe how much could happen and how much change could actually happen in just a 1-hour session. And through an interesting chain of events, next thing you know, a colleague and I co-founded an organization called EGALA that went about to start training professionals and certifying professionals to really create more professional standards for this work. It wasn't well known. Incorporating horses for physical disabilities was a little more well known, but not on the mental health side. And there wasn't a lot of cohesion or collaboration or information about that approach. And so we started this organization back in 1999.
Wow.
And I ended up being involved with that and building that into what became a leading global organization in this sector over 21 years.
Yeah.
Until 2020. So.
And then some things happened in 2020. Share a little bit of that story that, created that shift for you.
Well, it was interesting. As you build a business, right, and you're always learning, developing, it's like raising a child, right?
Totally
it's a really meaningful. Yeah, it's really a very personal experience building a business, and especially when you're doing it for that long and it's growing and expanding and learning a lot through that process. And in 2020, we ended up having one of our global annual conferences, and it was our 20th anniversary. And to have this conference, it was like a big deal. And usually we have those conferences in March. This particular one we had scheduled in February purely due to scheduling issues with the facility. And we're at that conference. It was a special moment. And I remember standing up there and giving this big inspiring speech to the community. It was leap year that year. And I was talking about how I'm feeling like we're about to leap into the next stage of awareness of this type of work. I just felt something so strongly that we're about to grow and about to expand in a really unique way and in the next level. And we all got back home, and that's when things closed down from COVID. Right. So it was one of those interesting, like we always have our conferences in March. It would have been shut down. This year we had this, and I had this strong feeling about what was about to happen. Well, it wasn't just COVID that caused a lot of chaos. We had other things going on, and it was a nonprofit organization. And we had one of those dynamics that you run into and hear a lot about with nonprofit organizations where you have a board and you have an operations team and there's a conflict. And that ended up by the end of 2020 with the operations team leaving and myself as well, that door being shut, not by my choice. And so
which had to be heartbreaking, by the way. I mean, just to have that happen, something that you had built had to be really heartbreaking.
It is. It's like I said, when you build a business, it's like a member of your family, your business becomes, right? And so certainly, there's always that like, well, things change, and maybe if you're not the right person for the job or this or that. This was a little different of a dynamic going on. And so, yeah, I think the heartbreak definitely came about because you have a vision for something that you've sacrificed so much for over the years. You've put a lot of time in, you've sacrificed financially for it. And to basically, it's the door is shut. It's full of a lot of emotions. I think, some of those emotions included self-doubt, a feeling of, well, what now?
Right.
And especially the self-doubt came about, as I was mentioning at that conference, and feeling like I had this strong feeling, and I've been led a lot by my feelings over building a business.
Sure. Absolutely.
I think a lot of us, are either spiritual guidance, intuition, whatever it is that seems to be leading our way. And I felt like, wow, I knew something big was about to happen, and I thought it was going to happen in a certain way. And now all of a sudden it didn't seem like it was going to happen at all. And so there was that like, well, why did I feel that? And where am I supposed to go now? And just feeling pretty burned out too.
Yeah, because you built so much for so long and put all your heart and soul into that. And so then it's like you get to that place, and it's like, how do you start again? What was when you did decide to start again? Tell us a bit of that story.
Well, it's funny. Well, I don't know if it's funny, but I was really burned out. I was exhausted. I was in that place as a business owner. I was like, well, I know what it takes to build a business.
Mm-hmm.
And do I really want to do that again?
Right.
And so there was this period of, I'm too tired, I'm too old, and now it's time for me to go work for someone else and make a normal salary. And I accomplished a lot with what I did, and to be proud of that, and now to move on. Well, what happened was this amazing group of people who all left that organization, that we have this wonderful team that I had, and they were like, Lynn, what are we doing now? And it was kind of like, well, maybe we are doing something now. And I kind of had to work myself into that. Oh my gosh, I know what it takes to build something. And so, but then I'm like, I'm not alone this time. I've got this incredible group of people. And then I also really had to get back in touch with, well, what's my passion? And is my passion to go work for someone else?
Yeah, that would be hard.
I realize now that I don't know if that's possible for me to go work for someone else. Yeah. And so I realized too, I'm passionate about this work. I'm passionate about teaching other professionals how to incorporate horses in the work that we do, and transforming lives. And I was like, well, but I don't want to stop doing that. And why am I going to say that other people are in control and telling me when it's time for me to stop doing something? Maybe it is, let's go ahead and let's move into something new. And thankfully, being with this wonderful team of people, we embarked on a lot of brainstorming, and it actually ended up being a really fun, creative process that I'm really grateful to have gotten to go through.
Oh my gosh, this is like such a great story. And when you, well, just for our audience who doesn't know Igala, because I mean, I know Igala, but just give us a little bit of a, what's the size of Igala? So people can really understand the scope of what Igala was or is.
Yeah, well, and I will acknowledge I don't know what it is right now. That, there hasn't been a connection over these last 4 years.
Right.
However, what we had built, we had around 2,500 members.
Yeah.
Probably, I don't know how many people that went through our training over those years, but well over 10,000, probably much more than that, of people that went through that training. We were in over 40 countries globally.
Yeah.
Had an incredible team of over 30 leaders around the world, with that kind of day-to-day working with community, peer groups, that kind of thing. And so we're actually in a really good place financially. So it was one of those, as a business owner too, where you put in, and finally it's like, oh, I'm finally starting to reap the rewards of that. And so it was a significant loss to have worked so hard and to build and think, oh, maybe now I get to, get to reap some of those rewards of a business. But that wasn't meant to be. Right. And of course, things happen and come across our paths and stuff. And so it's like, okay, now I'm in the loss period. And now I'm in the, I don't know where to go period. And now what was neat was, okay, let's start again, and let's see what that's going to look like. And if we are going to start again, what have we learned over 21 years?
Yeah. So what did you learn? Tell us some of the things that you took from lessons, from the transition and from just growing that organization to what you grew it to, into the transition into starting new. What are some of the biggest lessons you learned over that time period?
One is, what are our pain points? And what is our joy points? And quit doing the pain points. And, I think sometimes you build something, you end up getting yourself in a box, and you don't realize you're in a box. And even though we were always evolving and always learning, I think in some ways this idea, and I wrote a blog about sitting in front of a blank sheet of paper, like when things are shut and you're like, okay, we cannot do it, or we don't want to do it the way we did it before, and really analyzing that and being a lot clearer about, here's what I believe. And of course it's evolved over these years, it was really actually an opportunity. Here's what I believe. Here are my values. Here's the kind of people I want to be connected with in those values.
Yeah.
I think So one is being clear about pain points
Mm-hmm.
and being like, well, I'd like to structure and do something that doesn't involve the
What
pain
did you leave
points.
behind that were pain points that you didn't want to keep?
Um, well, one was how we structured the business. And
Mm-hmm.
that's actually why I started 2 new businesses this time around too. I didn't put some things in place that would protect myself too.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't thinking that way. You know,
Right,
you just
exactly.
trusting the world, trusting people. You don't do that. So one, I kind of put in some things like, well, what do I want to maintain ownership of, and what do I
Mm-hmm.
want to share with the world
Mm-hmm.
as a gift kind of thing when you're working in nonprofits. And so there was that kind of mindset a little bit about some self-protection, but it's not just self-protection, it's about honoring ourselves.
Right.
It's about valuing ourselves. I
Totally.
think probably many, especially women who start businesses, it was a lot of putting everybody else first,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
which can be a strength.
Mm-hmm.
But then there was also this time of, okay, I need to start thinking about myself. I need to pay myself. I need to honor, value myself and my time. And so that was one thing that I wanted to change, although that's really hard because I tend to be someone who, again, puts other people first. And I also like to put everything back into the business because I am driven to just like make it better, keep
Mm-hmm.
improving it, keep
Mm-hmm.
evolving.
But
So
paying
that was one
yourself
of
is
the
important
things.
as well.
Yeah, yes, exactly, which was not always the thing I didn't always do. So the other thing I really learned and wanted was how important shared values are.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, when we built our new business, one of them is called Arenas for Change, or ARCH
Mm-hmm.
for short, which
Mm-hmm.
is a training and certifying organization as well as a professional community. Um, we started talking about our mission and our vision at first, and we were just going in circles and we were blocked. But we started talking about what values are important to us.
Right.
We just went on fire. And in fact, our values are like a whole we were like, oh, what's the one word value? And then one of our team members like, it doesn't have to be one word. And next thing you
Right.
know, we wrote a whole page. But for us, every word, every sentence in that is super meaningful and important to us. And it's almost like building our foundation on those values and what's super important to us was more
Mm-hmm.
important even than our our vision and where we were going. We're like, this is who we want to connect with. This is the kind of people we're trying to be, and how
Yeah.
we want to be in business, how we want to be personally, how we want to be with our clients. And so we really based our foundation on that,
Mm-hmm.
and then finding other people who connect and resonate with that,
Right.
you know.
So that's awesome. I love that so much. And then, so you've got the one that you're training. You've got the arch that you're training, and then the other one is mental horses for mental health. Horse, is that right?
Horses for mental health.
mental health. I like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, yeah. So tell us about that one.
Yeah. Oh, and so Horses for Mental Health is a nonprofit advocacy organization looking to amplify awareness of the impact horses have in mental health services and to do more to support the programs who provide those services. And that actually started as a heart project. It's something that's been on my mind and heart, along with my colleague, Jackie Balmer. We had this vision for actually several years. And that's what I thought. I know we're going to get there, but it was block after block. It wasn't happening. And after this whole thing, this whole disruption happened, started what we called Horses for Mental Health as the focus to do this. And our main objective was to put on a peer-to-peer awareness and fundraising campaign that would support these organizations. We collaborate the industry together, and when we're doing it all together at the same time, we have a louder voice and we can be bigger and have a bigger impact. And so this vision of doing this, and by the way, this has been in other social impact sectors, but it's never been done in the equine sector. So it was
Mm-hmm.
something
Mm-hmm.
very different. People didn't understand what it is we're trying to do. And so we formed the organization. I was like, well, if it happens, that's great. But I was at that place of, I don't know if it'll actually happen. And one of the ways that we needed to happen is we needed to find a sponsor who shared that vision.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be willing to underwrite and support the costs of putting it on. And we did. We found that through an amazing organization, Zoetis. They do animal health and pharmaceuticals.
Okay.
And they got on board with the vision, which was amazing because, again, this was something very innovative and different. And thanks to their support and some other partners, including Equine Network and some other organizations that got on board, and then reaching out to the sector at large and people saying, okay, yeah, let's try this and let's do this. So we were able to start, it's called the Seen Through Horses campaign.
Mm-hmm.
And we did our first one in 2022. So actually within a year of starting Horses for Mental Health, something that had been block after block, all of a sudden, boom, boom, everything's flowing. Everything just kind of fell into place. We did our first campaign in 2022 and then did our second one. We moved it from October to May for different reasons. But May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And so now we do it for the full month each May. And we've now done 3 campaigns. So it was just, and I'll say the idea is that it keeps growing each year. Our third campaign in 2024, May of 2024, we tripled in what we raised. We raised over $422,000
Wow.
for 80 different programs across the country to support their programs and the services they provide. And we've had over 25 million impressions through public awareness, social media, video, bringing celebrities on board. So it is continuing to grow, and we're excited for what's going to happen in our 4th year. But ultimately, building this heart project, you could say, has ended up far exceeding even what I thought was when I said in 2020, I know we're about to leap to the next level. We're already actually far exceeding anything I even thought was possible in just 3 years of doing this. So it's just one of those,
so the funds
timing is right?
The funds you're raising are going to these different organizations who are doing mental health work with horses. Am I reading that right?
That is correct. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the money doesn't come to Horses for Mental Health. It is going to these organizations, and we're teaching them how to do peer-to-peer fundraising. So we're not just giving them the fish, we're teaching them how to fish, and we're all doing it together. Awesome. And so they create fundraising teams, and they mobilize their communities to support the work that they're doing. And so it came about because after training so many professionals and seeing these programs work so hard, they are doing amazing, amazing work transforming lives through horses. They're benefiting both humans and horses, and they struggle. They sacrifice a lot. And we're like, what can we do to better support them? And so it came from that heart project of we can do more to uplift the work these guys are doing because they're making such a difference. And so, yeah, I think it was just one of those, it's so neat to see other people get on board and realize, yeah, this is changing people's lives in a powerful way. And like I said, and the lives of horses too. And
yeah, absolutely.
So honored to be a part of it.
Talk a little bit about, I have such a passion for equine-assisted work. I call it equine-guided work because I worked with Ariana, of course, but it's the, horses and people. Let's just talk about that. What do you feel like is the magic that happens in the breakthroughs that happen? I mean, you've had all these years of experience, witnessing breakthroughs and healings, and talk to us a little bit about horses and people and the magic of that for our listeners.
And again, as someone who came at this from not having a background in horses, and it's like, well, I always thought that sounds nice being around horses. Of course, that would be healthy and nice thing to do. And people don't really understand the power of it usually until they actually experience it. But horses in Arch, one of the things that we've developed is really looking at how we can increase emotional safety. And we do that through using a story lens and a story framework, looking at our lives as a story. So what we like to say is horses are some of the best story editors we've ever seen. And the reason we say that is because when you're around horses, they respond to our nonverbal communication. They end up behaving and acting in ways that might end up feeling resembling other areas of your life, other relationships with others, or even relationship with yourself. And it's almost like this feedback that feels so safe. These are animals that don't know anything about our background. They don't know anything about us, but they end up behaving in ways that give us some really neat information and help us look at ourselves in new ways. Yeah. So whether it be that they move towards us, move away from us, that relationship and building that relationship like that it's like, okay, this is what I've experienced in other areas of my life. And is this what I want to keep doing? Is this how I want it to be?
Mm-hmm.
And what needs to change? And then we can work with our clients about what does need to change. And then they don't just talk about what needs to change. They actually have to embody it and feel it,
Right.
because you could talk all day to a horse. They don't know that, but they're going to read our
They're
body
going to
language.
feel
They're
it.
going to
They're going to
feel
feel
it.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think being able to have an experience like that has been really powerful for people.
Yeah. My work is all with women entrepreneurs, and it's really about helping women entrepreneurs put their voices out in bigger ways and grow businesses they really love. And as entrepreneurs, we have all these, struggles and dilemmas and things that happen in our day-to-day lives. And I think when I watch the horses with the women that I get to work with, is one, they get out of the noise of being in front of a computer all the time, and get out of all the information that's coming at them. And so we get out in nature, we're with the horses, we slow down to the pace of the horses, and then what comes up is different for every single woman who ever has come through my barn. And it's always, they're there in the moment that they're in, and the horses are going to respond and react differently to each person uniquely. And and I've had clients come back, multiple times over the years, and it's never the same experience, right? Because the horses really reflect into where we are in that moment. And I can see my clients break through in bigger ways. I can see them let go of limiting beliefs that are there, have new breakthroughs of ideas. I mean, it's just so much that can happen for women entrepreneurs when you get into that kind of a space. And my clients will claim over and over again, it's, the most, I work with them all year long, but it's like, oh my God, that's the best work. They love the work we get to do with the horses.
Well, it feels so natural. It's like change just happens organically and naturally when you're around the horses. And you're right. I think we underestimate how important it is to feel that sense of peace that you feel in nature and around the horses, especially. They just bring everybody's nervous systems down.
Totally.
And you can be much more connected to yourself when you're in that kind of energetic space, right?
Yeah.
And so, actually, so much of our journeys are because of the stories we tell ourselves and the beliefs we put on ourselves.
Yeah.
And so the horse is helping shift that just in a way that doesn't feel threatening at all. And it doesn't feel hard. It just, and actually can be kind of fun. And
it's absolutely
right.
Some of my biggest breakthroughs in life have come through horses. That's for sure. That's definitely for sure. Yeah. So it's really magical work. So you've really created some great success for your new organizations. What's coming up for you? What are some of the things that you're excited about moving forward?
I think I love to create. I love to try new things. I love to see like, oh, I wonder if this will work, or keep peeling the layers of the onion.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, like I said earlier, sometimes we don't realize we're in a box, even though we're always learning and evolving until something maybe a little more dramatic happens. And so trying new ideas, being more innovative that before maybe I was staying a little stuck in. I feel like our world is changing, that how people learn is different. I mean, obviously we have online, which is a wonderful addition. I personally am a big believer in the benefits of how we can connect with each other online and learn online. I've personally found our in-person experiences to be enhanced because of the online preparation. And so really starting to maximize how we can learn together, how we can connect and communicate with each other. And with those evolutions, I feel like how we can provide learning and experiences in a way that is affordable and still honors the business owner while it supports the customers. And I feel what we're doing with Arch in particular, we've found a good business model with a subscription model concept of membership that is working as a win-win for people to have more accessibility to learning. I'm really excited to get more students involved, get the younger generations involved, to be able to learn this approach of incorporating horses. And with Arch, like I said, we do it through a story lens. And so I think getting more accessibility and more connection more learning comes through all of that. And I think that's all a benefit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm
Cool.
excited about all of that.
I like the business model pieces that you've talked about here. You've talked about, you've set up a nonprofit. You've got your for profit. I'm guessing the other business is for
Yeah,
profit.
yes.
You're talking about subscription models. Just give us a little. I mean, from a business perspective, give us a little bit of insights into why you made those decisions, how your subscription model is working, just so that other people tuning in can think, that's an interesting perspective. To really put them separately. Just any lessons and thoughts you have on that.
I think like the first thing was, again, being clear on our values. And part of our values is to be accessible. And so we needed to find something, prior, the business model was, come to a training to learn, and it's going to cost thousands of dollars to do that. And not knocking that business model, but because we are focused on, we want there to be more accessibility, we can do this a different way. And I think because of technology being able to provide information in a way that can still be very engaging and actually still feel very experiential, even when you're not in person. And so having a subscription membership model that starts people off in an online space to get that accessibility, and then moving into, hey, well, if you want to do more, here's some other options kind of concept. So
Cool.
I know there's a lot of people out there doing that. I'm finding I wasn't sure how well it was actually going to work. But it is working for us, and it is growing and developing, and I'm excited about that. And I think with that, people also expect ongoing innovation.
Yeah.
Things are constantly changing so quickly.
Oh yeah.
I think people are also expecting flexibility. Like, okay, I'm going to invest in all of this, and then I have to stay there forever, or I'm going to lose this and lose my investment. Well, actually, people want to learn from lots of different people. And I think as a value of collaboration, supporting, like, we want to support you in learning from other organizations. We want to support you and being with us when it's right for you and it's a fit for you.
Yeah.
And when it's not, we want to support you in going on your way and coming back when it works for you.
Yeah, I
And
love that value a
yeah.
lot. That's a value I have as well.
And it is interesting because there is that kind of like a little bit of like, oh, is this, I think there's that natural instinct of wanting to hold on and have that a little bit more of control. I call it the business I did prior. And I feel other businesses out there are what I call a parent-child model, where it's the business is the expert and the people coming to you are the children, and you have a lot of rules and regulations and expectations. And again, there's a place for that. But that's just not what I wanted to do this time. And so what we're doing now is the adult to adult business model, where we really do look at one another as true teachers. We're all teachers. We're all learners. And when we share value and we innovate and create together and brainstorm, and we end up in places we didn't ever initially imagine.
Yeah. And it's a more conscious business model. It's what it's a more adult one, but it's also much more conscious, right? It's a level up in how you're running your business from a conscious perspective.
Yeah, I like that. I like thinking of it that way, and what we value more so than, well, here's the way you're supposed to do it, and here's the expectations of how things are done, and you have to charge a lot for people to think you're of value, and all these different things. And I've had people say, well, you have to charge a lot or people won't value. And I was like, well, I want to obviously charge enough for the value. At the same time, I was like, I don't care, because what is important to me is this information gets out there and we can find a way to do it that's innovative and supports everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, including what with our Horses for Mental Health, our kind of philosophy is a rising tide lifts all ships.
Yeah.
And when we work together, we are stronger and we're more powerful. And that's exactly what we're seeing happen. We've seen growth in just 3 years that people are, it is pretty amazing how much it's grown. And again, it's that attracting people to be like, yeah, we all have something to offer.
Right.
and we all have something to learn, and let's bring it all together, and we're going to go, in even bigger places together.
So good. So good. So you made this big step into, when you were at that place, when you were at that crossroads of, do I start again? How did you break through the fear, the self-doubt, whatever was there? And what advice would you give to anybody finding themselves in a crossroads where like they're trying to decide, whether to start again, whether to, make this shift in their business, something along those lines? What advice would you give?
One, have a good network of friends and
Yeah.
colleagues. A lot of tears, a lot of time on calls, a lot of brainstorming, a lot of talking things through. Coaching, therapy, all those different things I think are so important because it is a journey.
Yeah.
It didn't like all of a sudden like, oh yeah, this is what I want. It was like, well, maybe, and okay, I'll take this baby step. And so giving ourselves grace, allowing ourselves to take the journey and all the emotions with it. The other part was really getting in touch of what brings me joy.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because when we realized what brings me joy, I wasn't sure, and you probably coach people a lot, like go through these exact topics.
Yeah.
I wasn't really sure, but then it's like, well, what brings you pain? Oh, okay. I can name that. I can start naming that. But that was helpful because then that started helping me identify, well, this is what I want. And then ultimately realizing actually what drives me in my life, what drives my soul. And well, I love teaching people. I love helping people. I want to keep doing that. And I love the freedom and the innovation that you can take risks that maybe you couldn't take when you work for someone else. So I realized, I think I need to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I think
you do too.
I would probably be a terrible employee. Because I'd want to be shaking things up and like, well, what if we try this? Or what if we could make this a little bit better?
Yeah. Yeah. So good. So good. So tell us where people can reach out to you and find out more about, your organizations, your event that you do in May, I think you said. Just tell us where they can find all that information.
Yeah, thanks, Cami. So arenasforchange.com to learn more about that. And for anybody who's interested in putting some unique story lens elements and tools into the work you do, even if you're not incorporating horses, we focus on incorporating nature, as well as working virtually and in the office as well. So we have some neat tools around that. And a wonderful community, like I said, of just people sharing and generously sharing ideas and innovating. So that's been really fun. And then horsesformentalhealth.org is the nonprofit for those who are passionate about supporting mental health and personal growth services and horses. You can go there to learn more. And then, our Seen Through Horses campaign each May. It's a lot of people, a lot of energy around that. You can follow our social media. We have a campaign page. You can learn about the different organizations that you can support during that campaign each May, Mental Health Awareness Month. So we've been, and we have wonderful celebrities, influencers, and other people getting involved. So if you know of anybody who just wants to support in different ways, we have a lot of different ways that you can get involved in support through volunteering, supporting, sharing, spreading the word, and helping these wonderful organizations.
So good. And I also love that you say, and for the horses always. You've said that multiple times today. And I think that's really important because, we want to do work with our horses and really honoring the horse and making sure that the horses are well loved and taken care of in the mix of all of this. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, they are special, and animals in general are special. And I think there's so much horses can bring to our lives. And of course, with civilization and modernization, horses are maybe not as big of a part of our lives, but I think with this work and as it's growing, there are now about 1,500 programs across the US that are involving horses in different ways to help people with different needs. And it's bringing the horses back into our lives in a new way, and in a way that allows the horses to also be their authentic selves, because that's what we want them to be, to do this type of work, is just so be you. Good.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Okay, the final question I always close with is, what are 3 pearls of wisdom you'd like to leave with us today?
Oh, yes, that's a good one. You know, I think going through a journey of a lot of ups and downs, which of course happens with any entrepreneur, heartaches and amazing rewards in it. I was thinking one, gratitude,
Mm-hmm.
just maintaining that sense of gratitude. I think for me, even, it's easy to get into resentment or why is this happening or I wish it was this way.
Mm-hmm.
But one, maintaining a sense of gratitude,
Mm-hmm.
and two, a sense of acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
I think many times I know I do, at least, like I fight the callings that come into my path. I'm always like, I don't want to do this, or why is this? And I tend to do that to myself. But I think when we start accepting the struggle, that's when things start flowing. Right? It's
Yeah.
like, okay, this is the path we're supposed to be on. And the other main thing for me is just the importance of connection. I
Yeah.
think a lot of times I used to do a lot thinking I was being considerate by putting a lot on myself,
Mm-hmm.
doing a lot myself. Um, and now I'm much more conscious about how important relationships are, how important team members are. Um, and so just definitely maintaining that network, growing that network, being open, curious. But the relationships are the most important thing. And I don't think I think I've been more conscious of how important relationships are. And in fact, oh, the business needs this. And I'll be like, but what does the relationship need? That
Right.
is like the number one focus. And so, yeah, that's, I think, I hope I
Excellent.
can pass
Excellent.
that along.
Totally. That's awesome. Thank you, Lynn, so much. It's really great to see you. And thanks for sharing all your stories and just your wisdom today. I really appreciate the work you're doing and what you're putting out into the world. And it makes a difference, right? You think of the people that you are impacting, the ripple effect of that is really powerful. So thank you for all you're doing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Cami, for all you're doing too. Appreciate
Yeah,
you. It's good to spend time with you.
yeah, you too.